If boxed homeschool curriculum is not right for you, what then? That's what we're going to chat about today. I did a video earlier this week, I think, about boxed curriculum and the pros and cons of it. And while boxed curriculum is not right for us, I try to be really fair in listing pros and cons, because for some families there are legitimate reasons why that's going to be a great choice for them. But for others, it's not a great choice. Maybe they're doing it because they didn't know what else to do when they started, and so they just keep going, but they don't love it. Or maybe it's been a great fit, but not anymore. What then? How do you go about actually putting stuff, an entire curriculum, together? So that's what we'll talk about today. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Tricia. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 kids. And it's not been since year 1 that we have used a boxed curriculum. And even then, we started with Hearts of Dakota, which was wonderful for what it was. But that wasn't even a great fit. We didn't make it, I'm not sure we made it 2 months with it. However, I will also say that next year one of my kiddos is going to do Build Your Library. So, a modified version. So, we are going to experiment again with a not fully all-in-one curriculum, but somewhat. Anyway, that to say, I have obviously had a lot of experience putting together our own years. It was very quick that I learned that we had different needs. I had needs that wasn't being met by Hearts of Dakota. My daughter had needs that weren't, and it just wasn't a great fit for us. And I found myself modifying it so much that I was like, well, I might as well just choose my own stuff. And that's what I did. And that's what I have done all the way through. Even with high school, we pieced everything together each year. Now, to make sure we're all on the same page for definitions. When I say piecing it together, there's kind of 2 different definitions that I'm thinking of. The first one, and the one I really mean, is choosing your own phonics program, finding a math program, finding a history program, finding a language arts and a grammar, whatever, so that you're choosing each subject. The other definition, and one I'm not really meaning, but it's one that I've done quite a bit, is finding all your documentaries for history, finding what videos you're going to use for history, finding the readings, choosing all your science experiments, all of that, like completely, not choosing story of the world, but like writing your own version of history type of thing. That's not what I'm really referring to. I mean, it is kind of, but my real meaning for this video is we're choosing each of our own subjects and piecing that together to complete your year. So how are you going to do that? The first thing you're going to do is click on the link down there. I have created a handout to help you get focused on what it is your family needs. And then print enough for however many subjects that you need it for, and for however many kids. And once you've done that and you've completed it, then my next suggestion is to start with the companies that you know of, the brands you've heard, and just investigate them. Look at your list. Does Explode the Code meet your goals for phonics? Does All About Spelling meet your spelling, what you need for a spelling program? Do you need a literature program for history? In which case something like Story of the World might be great. Or maybe you want something that's more video-based. So then the Story of the World would be great. Start with those brands. Next ones that I would investigate, I've got a playlist where I suggested 5 different companies for, I think I covered all of the main subjects: math, history, high school, online, etc. And in the videos, I try to choose a little variety so that you can have a good bouncing off. Any of those may work or they may not, but they're at least going to help you narrow and really refocus on exactly what it is that you need. Start there. Go through the brands you know, go through that playlist that I have, compare them to your questions. How are they meeting your goals? If you find one that's a possibility, make sure you jot it down. Don't think you're going to remember the name of it. And then you can go back and look for it. Now, I would highly suggest that you focus on one subject at a time, because it's really easy to get really overwhelmed if you are back to back looking at science and history and math and whatever. In part because that's a lot of companies, and part because one company may be a really bad fit for one subject, but it might be a good fit for a different subject, depending on what you need. So stay focused on one. And I would set a time limit. Whatever that is, it's going to depend on how quickly you work and how it's going to depend. Maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours for you to research that subject. And then I would say give yourself another 24, maybe 48 hours to think about it and then come to a conclusion. If you keep giving yourself, well, maybe I should just look a little more, you're never going to, well, not never, you're going to have a really hard time narrowing it down, because there are so many out there, and a lot of companies do an amazing job convincing you that this program is for you, even if there's not one part of the questions that you answered that matches up for it. You know, marketing is effective. So I don't want that for you, because then that creates a whole other set of issues. Now, what are those questions that you're going to consider? Well, let's talk about some of them. Are you going to group your kids or not? Until my daughter was in 8th grade, we did history and science together, all three of them. And my kids are spread out. My youngest, he's, 6th grade, and my oldest is a senior. So we've got a range, but it worked fine for history and science. The youngest just kind of came along, and yeah, it worked fine. However, for something like writing, that wouldn't have been great. I couldn't do that with all three of them. But my boys, we've been doing writing together. They are 2 grades apart. This year they're 6th and 8th grade. So that's been fine for the past couple of years. Before that, it wasn't. So it really can just vary by subject and by your year, what ages and skills your kids are at. Do you want, this is the biggest in science, but other subjects too, do you want a secular program? Do you want one that advertises itself as Christian? Do you not have a preference? Whatever. Consider that. And if, just in warning, that if you want secular science, be very careful, because many sciences will call themselves more neutral, but that's not necessarily secular, depending on what your preferences or what your working definitions are. So just research that. What are the strengths and weaknesses of your kids for that particular subject? What kind of a time commitment do you want? For something like grammar, I've talked about this many times. Do you want to do grammar every day from kindergarten on through senior year? Me? No, I don't. We started out doing that-ish, and I quickly realized this was just not the way I wanted to spend our time. So we cut back drastically on that and use analytical grammar, which is basically a complete program for middle school, early high school level. Done. That was a choice that I made. For other subjects, do you want a history that you can condense, do like one semester of history, and then that time block in the other semester do science instead? Do you want to do read alouds for your literature every day? Do you want, do you have class, or do you have things on the go where your kids need to be able to take their stuff with them And how does that affect your day? Can you allot an hour for math or history each day? Or do you need to be able to shrink that down a little bit? All of those things are going to be important factors that I didn't understand when I first, in my early years of homeschooling. And back then it was okay because, I learned more as the investment got more expensive with more kids. But yeah, I didn't understand the importance of considering things like time commitment and, go along with that, my commitment. How parent involved can you be for each subject? If you want a complete parent involved math program, which we have used that until my daughter was in high school math, consider the fact that especially if you have multiple children, that's going to take a big chunk of your day, so you're going to be less available for some other subjects. Now, click on the curriculum videos over there, down there, and I'll see you over there.